Hi again, guys. It is Garrett
And Dylan.
here at Ambient Air Solutions. Today we're going to discuss the importance of your air filter, what it does in your system, why it's important to keep it clean, replaced, how it can affect your system if you don't maintain it. And then we'll go over a couple of different common sizes and things to look out for so that if you do have to go get an air filter, you get the correct one. So with that being said, the basic premise, the reason you have an air filter is to clean your air. That's very straightforward. As the filter cleans your air, like every filter, it gets dirty. As it gets dirty,
It may end up looking like this. The issue when it starts looking like this is airflow. Your system thrives off of proper airflow. And if it is getting all clogged up, all nasty and stuff, it can cause a whole lot of issues for you if it's not addressed.
some of the common issues during the heating season when it's cold outside, it'll cause your airflow to slow down enough across the coil that it'll overheat your furnace and it'll trip the limits, which will stop operating, and then your house will no longer be warm. The inverse of that during the summer is
Same thing, where the airflow will slow down enough through your evaporated coil for your air conditioning that it will then cause it to drop below 32 degrees within that cabinet and cause a big old ice block. Then you got no airflow.
and no air conditioning.
And no air conditioning.
So now let's talk about the different filter sizes. There's a variety of them, shapes and sizes, and where you can find the actual dimensions of the filter. All the filters have a standard. They might say it's a 16-inch by 25-inch filter or a 20 by 25-inch filter, but the physical dimensions are slightly different than that, and that changes from manufacturer to manufacturer.
For example, right here we have a 20 by 20 by 2 filter. Now, filters aren't an every size fits all. You got to know what size filter your system requires, so you know that it's going to do the proper job.
Filthy.
Filthy.
So hand me that filter again, Dylan. So for an example of the physical dimensions on all filters, this is a 20 by 20 filter, as Dylan said. And I don't know if you can see it, but right here in small print, it shows you the physical dimensions of the filter. It's not actually 20 by 20. So this one in particular is 19.5 by 19.5 by 1 3/4 inches. Generally, that's not an issue unless you get into some of the bigger specialty filter sizes, which we will cover here in just a minute, and we'll show you why that's important. Give me that one back.
I don't want it.
Filthy.
Gross.
This is why you hire us to change your filter, because it's gross. You don't want to touch them.
Another thing to keep in mind is how wide of a filter you can put into your system. A lot of systems out there will only be able to handle a 1-inch thick filter, while there are others that can handle up to 4 inches. So right here, we have a good example of a lot of the more common size of thickness, depending on what your system can take. We got 1-inch, 2-inch, and 4-inch.
So now that we have covered the importance of filter, how it affects your system, how you can find the different sizes, the physical actual sizes, one of the last things I did want to touch base on is all the filters are directional. They go in a specific position. They all have an arrow on them, and the arrow will point to your furnace. So look for the arrow, make sure it's pointing in the right direction, and if you have any questions, call a professional and they will help you.
Now, some folks will have a filter that goes into the wall. If that is the case, always point that arrow into the wall.
Good point. So since we're on the topic, let's look at where you will find your filters. We have a couple different setups here, and they might resemble the ones you have in your own home. So let's start with the first one. It's actually one of the Honeywell filters Dylan was referencing earlier, and it will have a very convenient door on the front of it that will pop off pretty easily. Comes off. And once you pull it out, you can just slide your filter right out. As you can see, we have our Spanish airflow sign, and then we have our English airflow sign. Airflow always to the furnace. So it'll point right to the equipment. And when you put the door back on, that one is then good to go. Some of the systems have 1-inch filters. This one over here is a good example of one and how you might find it. Sometimes the doors are a little trickier. Let's look at that one. So this one, a little skinnier, 1-inch, really tiny. You take the door off, less to grab onto, but same thing, slides right out. Again, we're looking for the airflow, and the arrow goes to the equipment. So this one goes up. So always make sure the door is secure so that it doesn't fall off and the cover is secure. Otherwise, you'll be sucking in some of the dirty air.
The last thing we'd like to touch on about the filters is how often you should change them. So when it comes to the 1-inch and the 2-inch filters, we always recommend to people to change them out every 3 months of furnace runtime. Now, if you don't have AC, you don't have a whole lot of airflow going through your ductwork during the summer, probably not going to be too concerned about it. But if you're running your system constantly throughout the year, it is always going to be a wise decision to replace these filters on a quarterly basis. Now, for the 4-inch filters, they are pretty good for about 6 months.
So the reasons we have different lengths of time in between filter changes is all the pleated filters, the 1-inch, the pleats are 1 inch as well. So on the 4-inch, the pleats are 4 inches, or what, 3 3/4. So if you undo both of these filters and you disassemble them and you stretch out the fabric that is the filter material, there's 4 times the fabric in this filter as opposed to this one. Okay, so let's take a peek at an extremely clean filter and what it should look like when it's new, and then what it should look like, or what it will look like when you need to change it. It's a slow reveal. As you can tell, it's quite gross, disgusting. So time to change it. One more example I wanted to show is this filter is a combination of both. As you can tell, it's still clean in one area and very dirty in another. If your filter comes out looking like this, there may be an imbalance in your system that you might want to get looked at, because as you can see, all this filtration is going from the side and down around the bottom. So there's nothing getting filtered in this quadrant up here. So if there's some uneven airflow for some reason there, and you might want to get that taken care of. It should, when it's ready to change, be very even and dirty all throughout. If something's completely out of the norm, don't ignore it, because there could be a mechanical issue contributing to it. Make a phone call, have somebody check it out, and that way you don't have any inconvenient breakdowns during the winter.